Hey, this is Angel with another episode of Dating Skills Podcast, and today we have Hypnotica with us. Hi, Hypnotica.
How you doing today? Feeling good?
All good. It's great to have you here. We just recently reviewed your book, Metaphor, which came out about 6 months ago, I think. So first, I'd just like to kind of get your ideas behind why you wrote that and what you wanted to communicate.
Well, I wrote it for the reason that you have it inside you. And this is something that it took a long time to get there. And I came from the position where a lot of the guys in the community came from, not really knowing what to do, overweight, I was fat, I was extremely white, freckles, pimples. So I consciously went through the steps on where to get to the point where I feel extremely confident in myself and my success and my interactions with women on pretty much every level. So it would be a shame, I think, for someone to have gone through that and not be able to give back a little bit of the steps and the learnings that it took to get to the point where I was at and where I'd feel comfortable. I think a lot of guys are trying to get to. So that's really why I wrote the book, for the reason. I mean, I didn't write it because I'm a writer. I'm definitely not a writer. I wrote it just because of the fact that I think that there's a lot of guys that can get a lot out of the book, and especially on the sexuality level, whereas I'm getting lots and lots of feedback and testimonials from guys just emailing me out of the blue, like, I'm glad you wrote this book because it made me think that I was fucked up in the head, or I had all these urges, or it wasn't natural. So I'm getting a lot of that. I think it's a good thing that the book went out, even though it rubs some people raw, but I think overall it's just another viewpoint that most people didn't put out. So that's pretty much why I wrote the book.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I enjoyed about it was, the honesty. It's very authentic, and I can understand that the scenes that you describe, which are kind of embarrassing, most people wouldn't want to put out there. So I think relating to those guys who said, hey, thank you for writing the book, it's because, that they feel normal because they know that there's other people out there and it's something that they don't have to hide or whatever. Do you want to relate one or two of those kind of things that you think people should feel normal about that they generally don't because of the way people view them or talk about them?
Well, I think people should feel extremely normal about being vulnerable, being able to open up and say things that are absolutely pretty much normal in life. Vulnerability, a lot of guys think, I need to hold on to my emotion or I can't let it out. But the thing that there is there's a certain strength with vulnerability, because vulnerability has a certain softness to it. And when you have a certain softness, you're actually more human. You're actually more able to relate to people. You can be more empathetic. And those are the things that I think are powerful. So when a person can actually say whatever he wants to say, and understand that he's got such a strong, solid sense, core confidence inside himself, no matter what anyone says, it doesn't matter, because he's just being his own unique individual self. And there's no one that can say, hey, this is right, this is wrong, because nobody knows what's really right, what's really wrong. So it's basically the person's own unique opinion of what they bring to the world. What's their own unique gift, what's their own unique perspective. And without that, then we're all clones. We just walk around as robots in a certain paradigm, and that's death to me. So it's really about the birth of creativity, the birth of, hey, being okay with being yourself, being your own unique individual, really. Great.
Are there any specific examples you could give, of things that you think probably occur for a lot of people, but they don't talk about them?
Well, this could go right with masturbation. Lots of guys, now I think it's getting a little bit more open. I think with the internet has really helped out open a lot of things on a lot of different levels, as far as ideas, as far as other people out there that have similar interests. And I think something like masturbation, guys, at least in my generation, masturbation was taught to be, it's bad, it's dirty, there was a big religious, I like to say the religious Reich of telling you what's right and what's wrong is rotting away a little bit, because they were saying, you can't do this and you can't do that. And I don't know so much about this generation coming up, but I feel like a lot of people were put to shame, like it's bad. And it's not bad. It's just a natural, normal process. I mean, anytime you can, release good feelings into the world, I think that's good. Anytime you can get a release of tension and let the chemicals run through your body that relax you, that's good. I mean, I think the only thing that's bad is if you keep on doing it, 20, 30 times a day and you overdo it. But something like that where you could just easily talk about it, it's more open, it's more honest, it's more just you being you. I mean, I wouldn't make it the conversation of the family dinner, but when you're out with your friends, if you can laugh at it, you can joke around, then you're more at ease with it. And once you have that tension relaxed in your body, then you're able to flow more easily. Things to that nature. I mean, lots of shit happens. Shit happens to people all the time. I mean, I had a really, really weird experience. Probably the weirdest experience happened 2 days ago to me. And I don't ever get thrown off ever. I'm like, that's one of my things is I've been there, I've done it. I had a friend, and I'm still a little weird on this. I had a friend that I know from, I don't know, maybe 10 years, a manly man. I mean, this guy who's like 6'5", 200, almost 300 pounds, 6'5", construction worker, just a man. The most manly man that I know. All right, put it that way. And he came over. I haven't seen him for about a year, and he said, hey, Eric, did I leave my tools there? I go, yeah, I left your tools there. Come on over. So he comes over, and we're just sitting there talking, we're kicking back, and he's older. He's about, 15, 20 years older than me. Been in the penitentiary, like one of these guys, not a guy that we messed with. And out of the blue, he just says, Eric, can I see your dick? And I was like, what? He goes, your dick. I would really like to see your dick. And I'm kind of get a little nervous. I'm like, what are you talking? Like, is this a joke? Like, okay, what's going on? And he goes, no, I really would like to see your dick. And I go, no, I'm not going to show you my dick. But you want to see a picture of it? Here's a picture of it. Here's my photo that it gets sent out to the girls that want to see my dick. Here you go. And then it kept on. And then he kept on. He's like, well, I'd get great pleasure. And he basically came out. This is a guy that I thought I knew like the back of my hand for an hour. Sat in a room and he was pushing on it. And he's a big guy, so I was like, okay, I need to grab a hammer here because he's looking at me like I'm his next dinner. And he goes through the whole thing. This went on for an hour, and I was like pleading that somebody would come and rescue me because I was just in a very weird situation. I was trying to make fluff it along. And he basically said, "Can you mind taking your shirt off and working out in front of me?" I'm like, "Look, this is my deal." And then he goes on to tell me he likes to be on the bottom, and he loves it when the cock's in his mouth because it almost makes him come without even touching himself. So these are the kind of conversations and shit that happens. Like you never know when it's going to happen. It was very odd, and he left because I had a client coming in, but I felt extremely weird. But shit happens, and shit happens to a lot of people. And so it's like when you can just get it out of your system and let it go, it becomes funny. Once something becomes funny, and whether it's masturbation, whether it's premature ejaculation, whether it's anything, you get that tension out of your body. Once the tension's out of your body, then you're back more into the flow. But that's the kind of stuff that happens.
I like the way you put it. Like it's this tension in your body that is kind of trapped, and I guess it's going to come out in weird ways and interrupt what you're doing. If you're approaching women or you're meeting women or whatever it is, it can hold you back, I guess.
It can temporarily hold you back. It depends. If you let it build up, I kind of look at imagine like a sink. And, there's hair in the sink. And sometimes if there's enough hair in there, it kind of slows it down. But if you don't do anything about it, pretty much it stops. And if you realize that there's always going to be a little cloggage somewhere down the line, as long as you keep moving forward and you do something actively to kind of clean it out, you start to move forward. For example, like guys on approaching. I know they have this big thing on guys on approaching. I don't really even look at it that way, but a lot of guys do. And so they're out there and they don't realize that it's like anything. It's like working out. It's like starting a vehicle. There's a warm-up phase, and nobody really likes to do the warm-up phase. Even the best people that I know that are good at it, even the guys that are the top guys that teach this stuff that I know go out all the time, say, hey, the first 3 times suck. The first time it's just like you're warming up, and it's like stretching a muscle. You just don't go into the gym and grab 300 pounds and throw it up. You got to ease into it. And the first time always sucks. Just like getting out of bed and going, God, I'm going to go to the gym. It sucks. Then once you start getting into the groove and you start getting warmed up, you start to find the flow. And I think a lot of guys are afraid of taking that very first step, but that's just like warming up. And once you look at it like you're just warming up, it's okay. Even one of the top guys was saying, he doesn't even know what he's going to say. He just makes his feet move in that direction. He's like sitting, no, I don't want to go, but his feet just walk him into that direction. And he says usually something pretty stupid. He goes, once that's done, the hair, the clog that we were talking about, a big chunk of it gets moved. And then the next time it's like the rest of it gets fluid. And pretty soon the water starts flowing. That's a little analogy that may help people. I don't know if I answered the question completely.
Yeah, that definitely fits with what I know a lot of the people, the guys teaching this stuff that they do in real life, so that fits with what I know as well.
There's a big difference between knowing it in your mind. Lots of people always wonder, hey, how do you present new stuff that I've never presented before? And the only way to really do it and learn it is to go through it and do it and experience it. You can read all the stuff, and that's kind of why the whole PUA system is in kind of the way it is right now, because it's just theory out there. Everyone's kind of talking theory, and when you talk theory, there's nothing new being brought to the table, because it's like, oh, well, I brought this. You're not getting the experience. And when you get the experience is when you get the unique concepts, and you get the unique ideas, and you get the unique systems that roll through your body. Like some of the concepts I presented this year that were brand new at the conference that we did with the Casanova crew guys is basically I said, hey, are you guys afraid of clowns? And they go, no. And I go, but I want you to think about something. The amount of makeup on a woman's face is the distance that she is detached from reality. And a clown puts on makeup and they entertain you. Okay, a woman also puts up makeup and entertains you. A woman is just really kind of like a pretty clown, to start to shift the perspective. I go, now if you walked up in a bar and you saw and you had some makeup off and you sprayed it on their face and it melted the makeup off, do you think that they would still be as confident as they were if they were dressed up like the pretty clown? And that guy said no. And I said, that's what you got to understand. You're talking to an illusion. You're talking to something that's put up to make believe. And I said, so when you understand that, then you got to start to see things a lot differently. And the other thing is when a woman's getting ready, how long does it usually take? Usually about an hour and a half to 2 hours for the average woman. And I said, what do you think when she's getting ready that she's thinking about? She's fantasizing about when she's shaving her legs, when she's shaving her pussy, when she's making sure that she's absolutely prepped. She's doing a ritual in her head of a type of man that she wants to meet. And when she can think to herself, like, man, I hope I meet this kind of guy. Do you think it's the average guy that comes up and just goes, hey, what's your name? Or can I ask you a question? No, it's a guy that throws the lightning bolts that knocks her off her feet. That's what she's doing in her head. That's the type of ritual. I said, so when you go out, you need to understand what has been going on inside this woman's head when she's getting ready. What type of guy? And for you to step in and become that guy and be that guy so you help her with her fantasy. So I wouldn't have known that if I didn't keep on going through the process. If you go through the process, you understand these things and you start to think about it differently compared to if you just stand on the outside and you're thinking about it and you're contemplating it in your head with your PUA buddies. You don't get to see things that free your thought process up.
It's interesting to look at it from the women's side of you. If you've had a few girlfriends and whatever, you see that, all of the effort they put up front, right? Some special occasion, it can go 2 weeks in advance. They're stressing about the dress they're going to wear, what they're going to look like and so on. So in a sense, I guess they get over the tension before the event in their preparation, and then the guys have to deal with it at the event. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I'd say they're more like putting themselves on display. It's more like they're doing a model walk. So they do have a certain amount of, I guess, tension built up. And women are wild. They want to let loose. So it's almost like that's their moment. They're going to shine that person that they've been building up on the inside. When they look at the shoes and they're going, okay, I'll put this combination together for this combination. I mean, it's really just a big, like a party because they've been planning it. So when they're out there, they're going to put on that person. They're not going to be brought down by a normal conversation. They don't want to. They want to be in that mode where they're out there having fun, letting loose. And guess what, guys? You better be that guy who's able to do that. And if you're just letting her ride the conversation or expect her to keep the creativity going in a conversation or bring her back down to a normal, boring interaction, then you're going to lose. If you're like, hey, I'm that guy who's going to be the tour guide through this night tonight and going to have fun and going to make it wild, you're a hell of a lot better off than you're just that guy that's, okay, I'm going to go and approach this girl. Because they're going to eat you up because you're going to break down their vibe.
So you were talking about experience, the importance of experience over theory a minute ago, and one of the interesting things you relate in Meta Horror is that you go through many extreme experiences. Probably a lot more extreme than anyone else I know has been through. So do you think that's it's essential to go to extremes, or what kind of experiences do you think are helpful in gaining to get better at all of this?
Well, the way I look at extreme is anything beyond what normalcy in a society is. It's kind of like you have the society which is protected by certain kind of universal little laws that everyone kind of agrees in. And that's where everyone is. And so it's just kind of said, like, if you're going out and you're looking for a treasure, you don't want to look where everyone else has been looking because you're not going to find it. You have to look where no one else has looked. So I don't believe that it's essential because I think you can learn a lot by staying in those parameters. But for me, because I like to kind of blaze the trails a little bit, I believe you have, at least I like to go outside the extreme and do those things because then you start to see all the patterns that people run by and how many people want to stay in that little clone zone. But when they get a chance, they come out and they want to unleash and go into it. So, I mean, I believe if you're going to be a maverick, if you're going to be someone who really goes beyond what people want and find new stuff, I believe you got to go extreme. If you just want kind of like a little bit, you can excel extremely the other way, but I don't think you're going to get as many as the original ideas that are going to come to mind, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. So let's put this into practice. What kind of things would you suggest the guys do in order to build up their experience a bit and get out of their comfort zone?
The most obvious is actually go out. Lots of guys don't even go out. They sit at their computer and they talk theory all day. I mean, if you go out, Tyler Durden from RSD, and I was watching him talk, he goes out every single